All right, Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Makakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders and millstone, and Southern brothers doing this thing in sincerity and truth and with charity. All right, man. I'm gonna hop right into it, man. You know it's June the 19th, which is what they call Juneteenth, and these motherfuckers just outside popping fireworks and everything. So it felt like the right time to go in on this lesson, man. All right, to hell with Juneteenth, man. It's a slap in the face, really. It's a slap in the face for a couple reasons. Ultimately, because it plays into the trickery, all right, to thinking that we fucking free. Well, we're not. All right? We're not. Plain and simple. We're still captives. We are still captives. That's why you need ID. That's why you can't even just have your child and not report your child. All right? They have to know that this child is entered in. They have to get a number, an ID number, social security number. The same way a prisoner gets identified because we're captives. They have to learn the American curriculum. All right? Be taught that we belong to two continents, African American. That's madness. That's not a nation. That's not a nationality. That's a slap in the face. And then secondly, just the history behind it. You're celebrating the fact that even after you were so-called freed, it was still niggas that had no idea it was going through hardcore bondage in the South. All right? So I got a couple articles I want to touch on. And of course, here's some precepts. But this is I'm going to, it's Isaiah first and foremost, man. This is Isaiah 1. And I'm going to start at 2. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, they have rebelled against me. The ox doth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. All right, our people don't even care about our heritage anymore. They don't care about learning where we really come from. All right, where we really, our true history. They don't care about it, man. They're happy being black or being niggas. Now people, you ask them, I don't know. You ask the nationality, I don't know. And they cool with that, man. If somebody asks you that, shit'll spark something, and you're like, damn, that's something I need to know. But they don't consider, man. Sinful nation, of people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers. That's what it boils down to. Our people just love wickedness. They don't care about where they come from because America allows them the true freedom that you have in America. All right, you have the freedom to do well. You think you do because you're still gonna get judged for it, but you have the freedom to do wickedness. That's the liberty that they've given you. All right, which is not true liberty, and they're gonna pay for that, man. All right, they're gonna pay for that. Children that are corrupt as they have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One. Hey, look, they're popping fireworks for being able to be called Americans. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger. They are gone away backward. Why should you be stricken anymore? You revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. So at some point, the Lord's going to just, he's going to just come wipe 2/3 out, man. 2/3 people are going to die here in America, man. They refuse to return. These, like it says in Wisdom of Solomon, those great plagues call they peace. This is a punishment to us, and y'all love it here, man. So let me get some of these articles, man. 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation, the enslaved people of Texas learned via the Union Army they were liberated. All right, it was June 19th, 1865. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get to the point. All right, this says the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. So we didn't get freed because we're still here in the land that we were captured into. You now get paid for your services, but the money you get, you have to spend it on things that your slave master provide for you. Now you have to buy your food. You're giving the money right back to who's over you. We don't, and ourselves don't own and control anything. We don't control our communities. We don't police our neighborhoods. We have to follow their way of life. All right, we have to make, when we pay taxes, they're distributing that taxes how they want to do it, which benefits them. All the money we get, it goes back to them, which money, this is fucking fiat, it's paper. It's not even gold or silver. Still working for nothing, man. P.S. Let me look up this word slave real quick. Because, when we think of slavery, we think of the hardcore bondage only we were in. But a slave is a servant. Being an employer, being an employee is still being a slave. See, this is all modern stuff. Because when you read through the law, servants are mentioned in the law. Slaves are mentioned in the law. You know, hired servants, that's still a slave. Let me type in paid slavery because this is crazy. Here we go. Wage slavery describes a person's dependence on wages or a salary for their livelihood. All right? Simple. 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 So we have not been free from slavery because we still got to go to Esau for the one of things. We still get our money from him, and we give that money right back to him. Meanwhile, we actually own and control nothing. All right? Even these so-called rappers and stuff, they have handlers. They don't get to do as they please their money. They have to do what they're allotted to do with it, man. That's why none of them give back to their communities like that. You know, they do a slight charities, tax write-off reasons. And outside of that, the rest of their people still at the bottom and suffer, man. Let's get back to this article. That absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property, of course, while easy to assert on paper, has been devilishly difficult in the 157 intervening years to make real. All right, then it mentions Jim Crow, the segregation, voting rights, of course, the civil rights. And it mentions the so-called legislation that was against discrimination, right? Still ain't changed nothing. Then it says the accumulated weight of generations of bigotry, much of it written into our laws, still weighs on the nation to this day. And that's facts. All right? Let's not forget Reaganomics and how cocaine is referred to as a rich drug. You can have ounces of cocaine and get less time than a man that had one rock of crack, which crack is made from cocaine. And that was the poor man's drug. That's what black people dealt with. All right? How about even, just look at recent cases, all right? How so-called white teens or even young adults, they'll be 18 years old, 19 years old. They get a slap on the wrist. Oh, you know, this will ruin his future. The judge actually said this will ruin his future. But a so-called Negro, a black man, gets charged as an adult when he's 12, 13 years old and did a silly crime. Charged as an adult. Come on, man. There was a case where I believe it was a black couple. It was either completely black. No, it was a black couple, if I'm not mistaken. Either the black couple or it was an interracial couple. So they had wanted to sell their house. They came out, looked around. The value of the house was low. They gave a low value because they had their pictures up. They knew who it was. So they decided to do it again, but this time took down their pictures and they had a Edomite, a so-called white person, show the house around. Higher value. It ain't changed, man. There ain't no equality here. And equality it doesn't exist, man. Some people are born retarded. Equality is not a part of life. Let's be realistic here. Someone has to be at the top, someone has to be at the bottom. But us being at the bottom shows that we are in captivity. Wealth and power are tightly intertwined. Oh, damn, it's perfect. Wealth and power are tightly intertwined, and the median white household has a net worth 10 times the median, and median is average. Black household, a disparity that holds that adds up to more than 10 trillion. There are many reasons for this, some of which flow from individual decisions. We don't for a moment suggest that to be black in America is be invariably destined to a life of poverty and oppression, which, I mean, it kind of is. But the lasting burden, they got to put that in there for the sake of, still trying to kiss Esau's ass, right? But the lasting burden of decade after decade after decade of injustice still makes shoulders ache. All right? Then it says on Juneteenth, we celebrate those who carry that weight and dedicate ourselves to building a fairer future. So even now, they say they celebrate Juneteenth because people are fighting for a better future. Not because actually equality and freedom. This shit is a slap in the face, man. It's bullshit, man. All right? We at the bottom, and we in captivity. It's Deuteronomy 28. And I got a couple more things I want to look, a couple more articles I want to touch on, and I'm gonna just get these precepts. It's Deuteronomy 28 and 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Which, just that alone, all right, is not good, man. As Israelites, Exodus 19, verse 5 and 6. You know what? This is Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. What is it? 1 Peter 2 and 9. As Israelites, we are to be above all the heathens, not below. We are a peculiar treasure to the Lord. Yet here we are under the curses, not only under these heathens, we are in the hands of our enemies, man, in their land, following their ways, which they put evil above good, man. Put the woman above the man, got us out here lost and just confused, man, and down and out. All right? He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Now look, let's get this Proverbs, which that further proves we are in, we are not free. This is Proverbs. Oops. 22 and 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. So us as a whole, as a nation, as a group of people, Mexican and Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans and Negroes, Salakia so-called, we are under the heathens. All right? Elam come to this place, which is East Indians. They got, oh man, how was that article? How was that? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Now, this has been a while since I've seen this. Hope I can find the exact same one. A couple months ago, I had it pulled up. This should work. This is not as detailed as the one I had, but this shows enough. Asians, of course, at top. Then you got white, not Hispanic, right there. Then you got Hispanic and black at the bottom. We're at the bottom, man. And natives don't even get mentioned, man. Is this the one? This is a good one too, though. Because when they say Asian, it doesn't just mean Chinese. All right? This is the list. Indian, Bangladesh, Cambodian, Chinese. This is the order of it. Look at that median income, man. All right? So that just is what it is, right? I was trying to find the one I had before, man. It was very thorough and detailed. Now, point is, we're at the bottom, all right? We're at the freaking bottom. Now, I want to touch on this. Oh, did I lose the other one? Okay. The reason slavery even ended, it had nothing to do with morality. And that's the problem, man. You niggas got to get out your head that Edom wants to be equal with you. And that you're going to be equal to him. For one, it's against the prophecies. That's not going to happen, man. All right, we're not going to be on the same page with these heathens. Stop trying to be like these damn heathens. That's why we got put in this condition. That's why we got brought down low, man. You want to follow them in their ways. This Jeremiah 4:30. And when thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou clothest thyself in crimson, so you beautify yourself, you're trying to fit in with the heathens, follow their ways, etc. Though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee. They will seek thy life. That has not changed, man. The lovers talking about the heathens. You read Ezekiel 16 and find out about that, man. All right, Israel went and played the harlot and dealt with these nations, wanted to follow them in their ways. You read Hosea about it. All right? That's the precepts to prove the lovers. But going back to the point, hey, to this day, these heathens, they don't like us. They don't rock with us. They don't pity the condition we're in. They get rich off of it. They put convenience stores in our neighborhoods, inflate the price, fuck us over. All right, Ishmael got these damn D-grade food restaurants in our neighborhoods getting rich off us, man. All right, all further helping to oppress us, man. All right, and Esau gives them benefits. They come over here. These heathens come and be immigrants over into this land. They get EBT, high EBT, man. They're tax free, and what they do is they take the EBT, go to Sam's Club, Costco, buy shit in bulk, fill their store shelves, increase the price on us, and that's all straight profit for them, man. Meanwhile, we're screwed. All right. Crazy. And to add salt to the wound, a lot of them damn heathens, especially them Ishmaelites, them Arabs, they know we're the children of Israel. We've spoken with them. They already know that. They say, oh, me Ishmael, you Isaac. They know we come from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They know they come from the seed of Ishmael. That's that Psalms 83. Yeah, you still want to be equal with these people, man. You still want to follow and drink the Kool-Aid that they give you, man. To hell with this place, man. Return to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We are oppressed here constantly. It ain't changed, and you're still trying to fit in with these devils. Even that dang old article to talk about the fact that we're going through this hell, still ain't no equality, but yet we still going to celebrate the Juneteenth because we pushing for it. When are you going to get it? They have a perpetual hatred towards us. Ezekiel 35. It ain't going to end, man, till the Lord take this damn devil down and set us up above him. This is Lamentations 4 and 17. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. And our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. Stop looking towards these people to help you. That's crazy to go to the person that's committing injustice to you and begging them to be just to you. No, man. Cry to the, when a nigga go through the shit we go through or gets gunned down by the cops, you can't go to the same motherfuckers that's doing the damn damage to you. Turn to the Lord, man. This is Ecclesiastes 5 and 8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in the province, marvel not at the matter. He that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. All right? The Lord sees, he regards this, man. He's higher than him. He's going to fix it all, man. But you have to forsake this place. And that's the thing. They don't want to. Our people, even though they know this devil is the devil, they don't forsake him because they like what this devil gives them. And that's the freedom to do as they will. Isaiah 9 and 13. For the people turneth not unto them that smiteth them, neither do they seek Yahweh of hosts. The Lord put us in hell under our enemies because we sinned, and our people still want to serve this devil, man. Still want to celebrate Juneteenth. Still want to celebrate July 4th, Independence Day, when we were still slaves, not independent at all. July 4th, around the corner, it's going to be niggas wearing the brightest blues, the whitest whites, and the reddest reds, man. Proud to be an American, man. Madness. Now, of course, this title says 7 reasons why Britain abolished slavery. Now, remember, Britain and America, for one, the 13 colonies was British owned. All right? Secondly, they the same people, same thing. I'm going to read the point in this, and then I got another article behind it, which is going to go into America. And the point is, slavery didn't end because of morality, or they just felt so bad for us. Ezekiel 36, they didn't pity us, man. All right? It was no longer as profitable. It was no longer as profitable. And also, if slavery continued on, the average, Bush beer 6-pack Joe Schmo Edomite, they would have been poor. There would have been no middle class even, which that's going down the drain any fucking way. But the idea of middle class wouldn't have existed, man, because slave labor is free. Let me read these points, man. You will see what I'm saying. For one, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna read here. I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna start at the top. On 28 August 1833, the Slavery Abolition Act was given royal assent in Britain. This legislation terminated an institution that, for generations, had been the source of an incredibly lucrative trade and commerce. Incredibly lucrative. All right? Why Britain would abolish such a brutal and degrading institution appears self-evident in the world we live in today. Slavery was, by definition, a morally indefensible and corrupt system. So let's say it appeared, that, they would have did it because of for morality reasons, right? But if that was the case, this article wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be a 7 reasons why. It'd be because it was immoral. Right? But that's not it. Nonetheless, within the context of abolition, it is important to remember that while sugar and slavery had created enormous fortunes for a small but very influential community on both sides of the Atlantic, the exploitation of enslaved workers also contributed heavily to the wider prosperity of the nation. It was not only planters who benefited from the significant West Indian branch of British colonial commerce, but the merchants, so the people that purchased the actual sugar, the sugar refiners, the manufacturers, insurance brokers, attorneys, shipbuilders, and money lenders, called bankers. Call it what it is, the bankers, man. Money lenders. All of whom were invested in the institution in some form or another. All right? So slavery didn't just impact those who owned us. Whatever profession you was in, for the most part, it revolved around slavery, and you got rich off the back of slaves. All right? So Edomite today can say, well, my forefathers owned slaves. He was an attorney. Well, guess what? They needed lawyers back then to deal with the paperwork, all right, to deal with legislation, to work out business deals, all on this slave produce, man. And none of them stopped to say this is wrong. The ships still got built. Oh, my father worked his hands. Those ships got built by somebody. Somebody owned them shipping companies. My father was a banker. We already know the bankers funded the slave trade, et cetera, et cetera. It mentioned the manufacturers, everything, right? I'm going to jump down. I'm going to read this, man, because it goes to the rebellions and how that played a part in them wanting to end it. But we'll start here. This paragraph up top. The rebellions in the West Indies, accompanied by the brutal suppressions, strengthened abolitionist arguments regarding instability of the Caribbean dominions. What the hell? The instability of the Caribbean dominions. They argued that upholding the institution was bound to cause more violence and unrest. And that's one thing they do not want, you know. Because who's going to be the ones getting hurt? Their own Brits. All right? The backlash of the rebellions, and also if they rebel too much and they gain control, then they can do what? Fight to be independent. As opposed to, you know, rebel, Esau go ahead and say, well, you're free. Now work for us, we'll pay you. Work for us and we're going to give you these wages. Now you're happy because you're getting paid to do the same thing you was just doing. You happy though because you're getting paid to do it. You still got to give all your money back to them. They still own everything. They still own you. They came to go over your island and you work for them on your own shit. The backlash of the rebellions also fed into anti-slavery narratives that stressed the more violent and un-British nature of the Caribbean planter class. And that's the thing. You know, Esau, because he's the devil, he has that, he wants to paint the image that he's an angel of light, like it says in the scriptures. He tried to have that squeaky clean image while he's doing all this damn dirty work. So it's like, all right, this is becoming, it's showing that these conditions are too bad. You know, so we gotta come up with a new way to do things. All right. Yeah. White colonists in the West Indies were always viewed with suspicion from those in the metropole. The parent state of colony. So back home in Britain, they were often disdained for their excessive, ostentatious displays of wealth and their gluttonous habits. In the aftermath of the rebellions, accusations made against colonists as to their bad taste and lack of class were strengthened by reports of the violent backlashes. So they wanted to keep that same image, even though they the damn devil. It's like today, America goes police the damn world, yet meanwhile at home, we fucked up here. They killing us in these damn streets. But so they go on the world stage and paint this image like they do good, man. They drop bombs on Japan, atomic bombs on Japan, just to flex they might really, to put the world in subjection to them, when they was already ready to surrender. Okay? But here we go. This is really the section I wanted. Salakia. Overproduction and economic deterioration. One of the most convincing arguments presented to Parliament, one of the most convincing arguments presented to Parliament during the emancipation debates highlighted the economic deterioration of the West Indian colonies. In 1807, it can be proven that Caribbean dominions remained Britain's most lucrative colonies in terms of trade. This was no longer the case by 1833. The main reason why the colonies were struggling was because plantations were overproducing sugar. According to the Colonial Secretary Edward Stanley, sugar exported from the West Indies had risen from 72,000 tons in 1803 to 190,000 tons by 1831. This now far exceeded domestic demand. As a result, the price of sugar fell. Sadly, this only led planters to produce more sugar in order to achieve economies of scale, and so a vicious cycle had been created. So the sugar is costing less, so now we got to sell more sugar for less to keep up the wealth we've been making off selling sugar for such a high price. Which means now we got to get more. We got to get the slaves to produce more, which means we probably need more slaves. It's just, like I said, a vicious cycle, man. Facing increasing competition from colonies such as Cuba and Brazil, the West Indian colonies protected by a monopoly that gave them low tariff access to the British market, all right, because they were colonized by Britain, so they didn't have to pay the same tariffs, the taxes, right? Were beginning to become more of a burden on the British treasury than the value asset. So because the West Indies was producing this sugar at the price it was, but it's not been able to be taxed as much, the damn treasury wasn't getting enough money. They can tax the imports from Cuba and Brazil more. They weren't under British rule. They could tax them more. It became unprofitable simply. Here's another point. Free labor ideology. Economics proved to be one of the first social sciences applied to the political debate over slavery. So it was never about morality, it's about economics. Abolitionists attempted to use Adam Smith's free market ideology and apply it to proceedings. They insisted that free labor was a far superior model as it was cheaper. Which it is, it's cheaper, right? It's free. More productive and efficient. This was proven by the success of the free labor system employed in the East Indies, right? And then, of course, the sixth one goes into the Whig government. As you can see, the Masonic post this dude has right here, Charles Gray. Basically, them one had that same squeaky clean image. I'm gonna look up that word, that phrase, free labor ideology. But then the seventh thing that happened that got the bill pushed through was the fact they actually paid the slave owners to let the slaves so-called go, right? So let's get this. Free labor. Ideology. A set of beliefs and ideas that presented slavery as a threat to a white male economic independence. It was central to the Republican Party's attack on slavery, asserted that the ability of working men to achieve economic independence was the basis of Northern superiority. Northern working class men were concerned about competing with other workers and maintaining economic independence. So essentially, if we allow slavery to continue to happen, this is what the Edomites are saying, we will lose our jobs because they're going to use these niggers to do what we do, but for free. Then we'll be out of luck. In fact, yeah, right here. If slavery were to move west, it would destroy that option because there would be less industrialization and they wouldn't be able to compete with slave labor. All right. Man, this is Sirach 14 and 7. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly. And at the last, he will declare his wickedness. All right. So it seemed like he was doing good. He let so-called slaves not have to be under hardcore bondage. But there was an ulterior motive. It was all for selfish reasons, for his economy. All right. It was all for his economy to continue to prosper and grow. It was never to actually free slaves. And hell, it didn't happen. All right? It didn't happen. Anyway, we're still under their control. Still have to work for them. They still get their cut off top. Huge portion. Jake get paid pennies. All right? And then get the money that we do make straight back to Esau. Because they own everything. You go to a black-owned grocery store, if you can find a black-owned grocery store, a black-owned restaurant, that shit ain't black-owned. Let me tell you something. The grocery store still stock their shelves from manufacturers that's run by Edomites. Same for the restaurant. That's what it boils down to, man. Esau still controls and owns that. He's still getting his money, man. Okay, so okay. I thought I had another one I want to go into. No, that was really okay. This is the one because I don't want to forget this precept. In fact, I'm gonna read this precept now, man. This is James 5:1. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are of moth-eaten. So don't worry, hey, the rich is going to be brought down low, man. We're low-key seeing it start to happen now. We're seeing, this would be a thing. Lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class. Over time, that got blended. Upper became middle on down. Now we're seeing middle class disappear. Even the so-called wealthy are starting to feel the hurt, man. Now the rich, the elites, they cool for now. But they're going to fall too, man. Don't worry. And the super rich, let's say the wealthy, they're going to fall. The super rich, they're going straight into chains. They're going to hide. They're going to escape the nuclear destruction. And they're going into chains. Point is, all the so-called rich and wealthy, they're going down. Whether they go down because the value of the dollar is decreasing and they don't actually have enough money because they're not the super elite rich. So they're going to feel that squeeze tight. Or they the elite, the super rich, they go hide. And once this place fall, they're going to go straight to change. This Psalms 149. Judgment's coming for them. That's the point. Your gold and silver is cankered. The rust of them shall be a witness against you and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. So we're going to see this place called America hit with thermonuclear destruction, man. All right? They got the world to follow after them, to get on a paper currency. It's not even gold and silver anymore. And now this paper currency is failing. Okay? And it's going to lead to this place being hit with fire, man. That's Revelation, the 17th chapter. I believe it's 17. These 10 should hate the whore being America. The 10, talking about those European nations, man. What you call the EU. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the crowds of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies, man. All right? The Lord hears how you've wronged the Israelites, man. Went from free hardcore bondage to now we wage slaves, man. And even then, we get the crumbs while you live it up. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. And our people follow whatever you put out there, Esau, and you still do what's dirty as fuck, man. So you got to pay for it, and you will pay for it. All right? End of the day, how slavery became America's first big business. America is this great nation because of slavery. And you have to pay for that because you touched the apple of the Lord's eye. I ain't going to go through too much of this, man. This is a really good article, though, so, brothers, should check it out. Historian and author Edward E. Baptist explained how slavery helped the U.S. go from a colonial economy to the second biggest industrial power in the world. Exports is what made America great. And that all started with slave labor, man. Then it led to the so-called industrial age in America. And then instead of us being slaves, so-called hardcore bondage slaves, we simply got transferred over to industrial slaves or wage slaves. And that's what the word emancipate mean. It doesn't mean freed, man. Emancipate, Latin, X, E. Then it says Latin E, emancipium, slave. And the point being right here is transfer this property. I was reading it right above it. I was reading this at first. It says Latin X, which is out. The Latin E for out. Emancipium, slave. Emancipare, emancipate, transfer this property. There you go. And it says it plainly down here without all the extra. We were transferred. So let's hit on this article a little bit. Of the many myths told about American slavery, one of the biggest myths, is that it was an archaic practice that only enriched a small number of men. The argument has often been used to diminish the scale of slavery, reducing it to a crime committed by a few southern planters, one that did not touch the rest of the United States. Slavery, the argument goes, was an inefficient system, and the labor of the enslaved was considered less productive than that of a free worker being paid a wage. The use of enslaved labor has been presented as pre-modern, a practice that had no ties to the capitalism that allowed America to become and remain a leading global economy. But as with so many stories about slavery, this is untrue. They like to downplay slavery. Of course they do, because that messes up Esau's image. But now we know better. Okay? This country got rich and powerful off slave labor. But as with so many stories about slavery, this is untrue. Slavery, particularly the cotton slavery that existed from the end of the 18th century to the beginning of the Civil War, was a thoroughly modern business, one that was continuously changing to maximize profits. To grow the cotton would clothe the world and fuel global industrialization. Thousands of young enslaved men and women, the children of stolen ancestors, legally treated as property, were transported from Maryland and Virginia hundreds of miles south and forcibly retrained to become America's most efficient laborers, as they were pushed to expand the territories of Mississippi and Louisiana, sold and bid on at auctions, and resettled onto forced labor camps. They were given a task to plant and pick thousands of pounds of cotton. The bodies of enslaved served as America's largest financial asset, and they were forced to maintain America's most exported commodity. In 60 years, from 1801 to 62, the amount of cotton picked daily by an enslaved person increased 400%. The profits from cotton propelled the U.S. to a position as one of the leading economies in the world and made the South its most prosperous region. The ownership of enslaved people increased wealth of Southern planters so much that by the dawn of the Civil War, the Mississippi River Valley had more millionaires per capita than any other region. Okay? More millionaires per capita than any other region. So you go to those southern states, especially those southern Midwest states, all right? You see all, the American dream, the white picket fence, the big home with the, it's a certain term for those type of porches they have on the front. Those old school homes, like maybe it's Victorian. Whatever the case is, that's all built off slave labor. They got rich, that wealth passed down through their families. However they invested it afterwards. You know, it all started with slavery, man. In recent years, a growing field of scholarship have outlined how America, through the country's geographic growth after the American Revolution and enslavers' desire for increased cotton production, created a complex system aimed at monetizing and maximizing the labor of the enslaved. And then it goes into how we were beaten to keep goals. We had them. They kept increasing how much cotton was needed. Yeah, I'm gonna read this. As overseers and plantation owners managed a forced labor system aimed at maximizing efficiency, they interacted with the network of bankers and accountants and took out lines of credit and mortgages, all to manage America's empire of cotton. So banks, accountants, all these motherfuckers got rich off slavery, man. An entire industry, America's first big business, revolved around slavery. The slavery economy of the U.S. South is deeply tied financially to the North, to Britain, to the point that we can say that people who were buying financial products and these other places were in effect owning slaves. And this is why I said earlier, we read the article that mentioned Britain, and it was going to have Britain into slavery, but it all ties in together. Okay? Damn, the bankers was able to invest up north. They got rich off the shit down south. So then, of course, they can start making your meals and factories and manufacturing plants, etc. That made the North need these hired hands, man. Which led to the change of ownership. It all benefit off the labor of enslaved people. Says Edward E. Baptist, a historian at Cornell University and the author of The Half Has Never Been Told, Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism. Let's scroll down. It says, I recently spoke with Baptists about how cotton slavery transformed the American economy, how torture, violence, and family separations were used to maximize profits, how understanding the economic power of slavery impacts current discussions of reparations. Okay? It's so much. I'm in this and then start it right back up because I'm on my screen recording and I want to make sure it saves. Because Esau be on bullshit sometimes on here.